My wife's phone lit up on our kitchen counter while she was in the shower. I was rinsing a coffee mug, trying not to look at it because for 3 weeks I had been telling myself I was not that kind of husband. I was not the jealous one. I was not the man who checked screens and counted bathroom trips. Then I saw the name. Brett. My brother-in-law. Kara's sister's husband. The message preview said, "Same hotel next Friday?" I stood there with the mug under the running faucet until water spilled over my hand and down my sleeve. Brett and Kara did not text each other, not like that. In 7 years of marriage, if Brett needed something from me, he called me. If Kara needed something from Mara, her younger sister, she texted Mara directly. That was how our family worked. So I picked up the phone. I knew her passcode because it was our old anniversary date. I almost wished she had changed it. The thread opened, and my whole life seemed to tilt sideways. There were months of messages. Not a mistake, not flirting that went too far. Months. Hotel confirmations, photos of drinks on dark tables. Jokes about how easy it was to lie to us. One message from Kara said, "Adrian never notices anything unless it has an invoice attached." I read that line 3 times. Not because it was the worst thing in there. Because it sounded like her. The shower shut off upstairs. I locked the phone, set it back exactly where I found it, and turned off the faucet. When Kara came down 10 minutes later, wrapped in her robe, she smiled at me like nothing in the world had changed. "You okay?" she asked. I looked at the woman I had slept beside for 7 years. "Yeah," I said, "just tired." And for the first time in my marriage, I lied better than she did. That night, I did not sleep. Kara did. She breathed softly beside me while I stared at the ceiling and replayed every birthday, dinner, and weekend where Brett had been there. Brett, the guy who slapped my shoulder at cookouts. The guy who borrowed my drill and never returned it. The guy who married Mara in a small chapel outside Richmond while Kara cried into a napkin and called it the happiest day of her sister's life. By morning, I had screenshots. I was careful. I did not send myself anything explicit. I saved the dates, the hotel confirmations, the lies, the messages where they talked about us like furniture. Then I called Mara. She answered on the 3rd ring. "Adrian, everything okay?" Her voice was bright but thin, like she was already scared of the answer. "I need to talk to you," I said. Not over the phone. We met at a quiet sandwich place near Carytown, the kind with metal chairs and old brick walls. Mara came in wearing nurse scrubs under a coat, her hair tied back, her face tired from a long shift. She smiled when she saw me. Then she saw my face. "What happened?" she asked. I slid my phone across the table. At first, she frowned like she did not understand what she was seeing. Then her hand moved to her mouth. "No," she whispered. "I'm sorry." "No, Brett wouldn't." Her voice broke before she finished. I did not argue, I just waited. She scrolled, once, twice. Then she pushed the phone back like it had burned her. "That's Kara," she said. I nodded. "And Brett?" I nodded again. She stood up so fast her chair scraped the floor. For 1 second I thought she was leaving. Instead, she walked to the restroom. She came back 10 minutes later with red eyes and a face so still it scared me. "I need to check his phone," she said. I did not tell her to. I did not tell her not to. I only said, "He doesn't know I know." Neither does she. "No." Mara looked down at the table. For the first time, I saw the same thing in her face that I felt in my chest. Not just pain. Humiliation. Like someone had made a joke out of your home and let you be the last person to hear it. That night, Mara called me from her car. I could hear rain on her windshield. "You were right," she said. Her voice was empty. I closed my eyes. She had found more. Brett had not even hidden it well. He had used a second folder in his email, named it Old Receipts, and thought Mara would never look. There were hotel charges, rideshare trips, a photo of room keys on a marble counter. One card sleeve showed the room number. Room 614. That number became a splinter in my mind. The next few days were awful in a quiet way. Kara kissed my cheek in the morning. Brett texted our family group chat about a barbecue. Mara replied with a thumbs-up emoji because she was still trying to breathe. We compared timelines in small pieces. At dinner, Kara left early because she had a migraine. Brett had left 20 minutes later because he forgot a work call. Mara's birthday, when Brett disappeared to help his brother with a dead battery. Our anniversary weekend, when Kara said she had to cover for a coworker. The worst one was a Thursday in September. Mara had been sick with a fever, not dying, not in danger, but sick enough to ask Brett to stay home. He told her his brother needed him. He went to room 614. Mara sent me the receipt with no message. I stared at it until the numbers blurred. That was the night something changed in her. She came to my house 2 days later while Kara was at work. She stood in my living room with a folder under one arm and anger under her skin. "We should do it," she said. "Do what?" "What they did." I stared at her. She laughed once, but it was not humor. Not because I want some romantic movie moment, not because I've secretly wanted you, I haven't, but they deserve to know how it feels. Mara. No, think about it. Kara would lose her mind if she thought you touched me. Brett would act like I murdered him if he thought I even looked at you. She was right. That was the sick part. They had stolen from us, but they still thought they owned us. For 1 second I let myself imagine it. The look on Kara's face, Brett's panic, the perfect ugly mirror. Then I saw what would happen after. They would use it. They would say we were all the same. They would say the marriages were broken on both sides. They would stand in the mess they made and point at us like we had handed them a ladder. So I shook my head. No. Mara's jaw tightened. You don't want them to hurt? I do, I said, more than I want to admit. Then why not? Because I don't want to become their excuse. She looked away. I stepped closer, not touching her. I don't want them walking out of this saying we did it too. I want them to lose the right to make excuses. Mara went very still. Then she looked at me again. So what do we do? That was the moment the bad idea became a better one. We would let them think it happened. Not actually do anything, not cross a line, not give them one true thing to use against us. Just let their own guilt do the work. Mara was better at details than I was. She noticed patterns. Maybe because she spent her job listening to patients lie about pain and then watching their hands shake anyway. Kara had started watching my phone. Brett had started asking Mara where she was going, even though he had never cared before. So we gave them crumbs. Nothing obvious. A call from Mara while Kara was beside me on the couch. I did not answer. I turned the screen down. A coffee receipt in my truck from a place near Mara's clinic. Mara started leaving the room when Brett walked in. I changed my passcode, not because I had anything real to hide, but because Kara noticed. That night she asked, "Why did you change your code?" I kept folding laundry. Phone update reset some stuff? That doesn't make sense. I looked at her then. Does it bother you? Her face twitched. No, she said too fast. The hypocrisy was not loud at first. It showed up in small, ugly ways. Kara stood behind me when I texted. Brett drove past Mara's clinic on his day off and claimed he was nearby. Kara asked me twice if Mara had seemed weird lately. I said, weird? How? I don't know, needy. I almost laughed. Instead, I said, she's your sister. Kara looked down at her tea. Yeah, she said, I know. We let it build for 10 days. During those 10 days, Mara and I also did the real work. We met with attorneys separately. We copied financial records. We made sure neither of us did anything stupid with shared accounts. We told only 4 people before the hotel night: Mara's mother, her older cousin Paige, my best friend Deacon, and a process server my attorney recommended. Mara wanted her father there too, but her father had a temper and a bad knee. That was not a safe combination. Her mother, Vivian, was different. She had spent years defending Kara. Kara was the charming one, the smooth one, the one who sent flowers after arguments and cried first in family conflicts. When Vivian saw the evidence, she did not cry. She sat at Mara's kitchen table, read the printed timeline, and removed her glasses. Then she said, "I told you girls not to marry men who made you feel lucky they came home." Mara looked at her. Vivian's eyes shifted to Brett's messages. "And I told Kara not to confuse attention with love." That was all she said. The last piece came from Brett himself. Mara found a saved draft in his email, not sent, not finished. It was the start of a message to Kara. He had written, "When this comes out, we need to control the story. We can't let them make us look cheap. We say both marriages were lonely for years. We say we tried. We say we found each other in a hard time." Mara sent it to me with one line: "They already wrote our grief for us." That was when room 614 stopped feeling like a trap. It felt like a place where we were taking the pen back. The hotel was called the Westbrook. It was one of those renovated downtown places with gold lamps, dark green walls, and a lobby that smelled like lemon polish. The kind of hotel Kara would call classy but not try hard. I booked room 614 under my name for a Friday night. Not online, in person. I wanted to stand there and say the number out loud. The clerk did not care. To her, it was just a room. To me, it was the place where my marriage had become a joke. Mara and I prepared the room that afternoon with Paige and Deacon. Nothing vulgar. Nothing illegal. Nothing that would make us ashamed later. No intimate pictures, no private medical details, no dirty descriptions. Just proof. Receipts. Times. Messages. Screenshots of lies. A clean timeline printed on whiteboards. Photos from family events with small captions underneath. Kara leaves at 8:42 p.m. Brett leaves at 9:03 p.m. Room 614 check-in at 9:28 p.m. On the small round table near the window, Mara placed a grocery store cake. White icing, blue letters. "Congratulations on 6 months of lying." Deacon stared at it. "That is the meanest cake I've ever seen," he said. Mara adjusted the plastic knife beside it. "It's not mean if it's accurate." At 6:30 we sent the message. Not from a secret account. From my phone to Mara's. Just enough. Room 614, same place, tonight. Then Mara replied, "Let's make sure they understand." We knew they would look. Kara saw mine first. I was in the den when she walked in holding my phone. Her face was pale, but her voice came out sharp. "Why is Mara texting you about a hotel room?" I took the phone slowly. "You went through my messages?" Her mouth opened. The room went silent. For half a second I watched her try to find a version of herself that had the right to be angry. "I saw it light up," she said. "That's funny," I replied. "I've heard that happens." Her eyes narrowed. "What is that supposed to mean?" I stood. "Nothing." "Are you going somewhere tonight?" "Maybe." "With my sister?" I looked at her for a long moment. Then I said, "You should ask Brett." That did it. Her face changed so fast it almost felt like mercy. Fear, rage, guilt, all fighting for the same space. "Kara," I said softly, "you look upset." She stepped back. I walked past her, grabbed my jacket, and left. I did not speed to the hotel. I drove like a normal person. That mattered to me for some reason. Mara arrived 10 minutes after I did. She looked calm, but her hands shook when she took off her coat. "They're coming," she said. "Brett?" He tore through my purse looking for my phone, so I let him find the hotel key sleeve. I blinked. "You let him." She nodded. He called me disgusting. For the first time all night, anger punched through my chest. "What did you say?" "I said, that's rich." Then she looked toward the door. "They'll come separately, or together, but they'll come." The room was ready. Vivian sat in a chair by the wall, wearing a black coat and an expression that could have frozen a river. Paige stood near the projector with the remote. Deacon leaned by the window, arms crossed. My attorney was not there to argue. He had told me that clearly. He was there to witness service and keep everything controlled. Mara's attorney said the same. The process server stood near the little desk, quiet and bored, like this was just another Friday. At 8:17 p.m., the hallway outside filled with footsteps. Fast ones. Then Kara's voice. "Move." The door swung open so hard it hit the safety latch. I had left it cracked. Kara stormed in first. Brett was right behind her, red-faced and breathing hard. They both stopped. No bed scene, no secret kiss. No betrayal waiting for them. Just a room full of people staring back. And on the wall behind us, paused in giant letters, was a screenshot from Kara's phone. "Same hotel next Friday?" Kara's mouth fell open. Brett stepped back into the doorframe. Mara stood beside me, not touching me, not hiding. Kara looked from me to Mara. "What is this?" I nodded to Paige. The slideshow started. No music, no drama. Just the quiet click of proof appearing on the wall. Brett's hotel receipt from March. Kara's text saying she was at book club. A photo from Mara's birthday dinner with Brett's empty chair circled. A message from Kara, "Mara bought it?" Brett's reply, "She always does." Mara flinched at that one, but she did not look away. Vivian did. She looked straight at Brett. He seemed to shrink under it. "This is insane," Kara said. Her voice had gone high. "You brought my mother here?" Vivian stood. "No," she said. "Your choices did." Kara's eyes filled with tears. "That would have worked on me once." Brett pointed at me. "You set us up." I nodded. "Yes." He grabbed that word like a rope. "You admit it." "We set up a room," Mara said. Her voice was steady now. "You brought the guilt." Brett turned on her. "You were going to sleep with him." "No," Mara said. "You wanted that to be true." Kara looked at me, desperate. "Adrian, please. This is cruel." I laughed once. I could not help it. "Cruel?" She reached for me. I stepped back. 3 weeks ago, I thought I found out my marriage was over, I said. Then I found out it had been over for months. Tonight we wanted you both to feel one piece of what you gave us, walking into a room and realizing everyone else knows before you do. The projector clicked again. The draft email appeared. Brett went white. Kara turned slowly toward him. "What is that?" Mara answered. "Your future press release." Paige read it out loud, not the whole thing, just enough. "We say both marriages were lonely for years. We say we tried. We say we found each other in a hard time." Kara shut her eyes. That was the final crack. Not the affair, not the hotel, not the cake. The plan. They had not only betrayed us, they had prepared to steal the story after. I looked at Kara. "You were going to make me sound cold." She said nothing. I looked at Brett. "And you were going to make Mara sound unstable." Mara opened the folder in her hands. "That's why there are copies," she said. "For our attorneys, for ourselves, for anyone you try to lie to." Brett's anger came back, but weaker. "You can't just expose private things." My attorney spoke for the first time. "No explicit material has been shown, no images of a sexual nature, no public posting. Only evidence relevant to both marriages and expected legal claims. I'd advise you not to threaten anyone in this room." Brett closed his mouth. Kara stared at the cake. The room felt airless. I thought I would enjoy that part more. I thought seeing her trapped by the truth would fill some hole in me. But standing there, all I felt was tired. Not weak, not soft. Just tired in a way that reached my bones. The process server stepped forward. He said Kara's full legal name. She looked up like she had forgotten other people existed. He handed her the papers. Then he turned to Brett. Mara watched him take his envelope. Brett looked at her. "Mara, come on." She gave him the first real smile I had seen from her in weeks. "No." One word. Clean. Final. Kara clutched the papers to her chest and looked at me. "We can talk at home." I shook my head. "No, we can't." "Adrian, you don't get to make this private now." She looked around the room at her mother, her cousin, the two friends who had been at our weddings, the attorneys, the proof on the wall. Then she whispered, "I loved you." I believed that she believed it. That was the saddest part. I stepped closer, only enough for her to hear me clearly. "You loved having me waiting at home." Her face collapsed. I turned away before it could pull me back into the old habit of comforting her. Mara picked up the projector remote and shut it off. The wall went blank. For the first time that night, room 614 looked like a normal hotel room again. Just a bed, a desk, a window looking down at the city lights. Only none of us were normal anymore. The aftermath was short. Not easy, but short. Kara tried calling me 11 times that night. I did not answer. Brett sent Mara one long message about how they had, quote, all made mistakes. She forwarded it to her attorney without replying. By Monday, both families knew enough of the truth, not every detail, not the ugly parts. Just enough that Kara and Brett could not turn themselves into tragic soulmates who had been misunderstood. Mara and I did not become a couple. People expected that twist. Some even hinted at it, like pain had to turn into romance to make sense. But it did not. We were two people who had met each other in the wreckage and chosen not to add more wreckage. A week after room 614, I returned Brett's old drill by leaving it on Mara's porch. She texted me a picture of it with one line. At least one borrowed thing came back. I laughed for the first time in weeks. Not because anything was fixed. Because I still could. When I think back on that night, I do not think about the cake first. Or the projector. Or Kara's face when she saw the messages on the wall. I think about the moment before I left the room, when I looked at Mara standing beside me, both of us hurt, furious, and still clean. They had pulled us into their secret for months without our consent. They had lied in our homes, smiled at our tables, and planned to rewrite our pain before we even knew the truth. But in the end, the part that stayed with me was not that we exposed them. It was that we walked out without becoming them. For more stories like this, subscribe and tell me in the comments, would you have done all this or would you simply divorce them?